My pleasure to yield 3 minutes to, again, one of the determined and strong advocate for this legislation, Mr. Blumenauer of Oregon, distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee. 3 minutes.
Gentleman from Oregon is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just heard my friend from Mississippi talk about, we shouldn't be dealing with things like this because the time's not right. His voters just approved medical marijuana, one of 5 states that approved. Arizona didn't barely pass it. It was 60%. We're not rushing to legalize marijuana. The American people have already done that. We're here because Congress has failed to deal with the disastrous war on drugs and do its part for the over 50 million regular marijuana users in every one of your districts. We're here because we failed the parents of babies with extreme seizure disorders. And why 10 states have stepped up, because the only thing that stops those babies from being tortured is medical cannabis. That's why 10 states have approved provisions like that. We're here because Congress has failed to deal with our veterans whose wounds, seen and unseen, will give them opioids, but we don't deal with giving them access to something, as Representative Corona pointed out, dealing with medical cannabis, which is safer than the opioids we give them, and they suffer opioid deaths at a higher rate than the general population. We're here because Congress has failed with research. We want to have a test for impairment. The 150,000 drivers for beer and wine wholesalers want to be able to test. But Congress has stood in the way of research. There's plenty of money. We don't have the authority to do it. We're here because, speaking of small business, because the Senate has failed to follow through on a $17 billion industry that doesn't have access to financial services. It's an invitation to money laundering, to theft, to tax evasion, for an industry that is pitched by my friend's fellow Ohioan, John Boehner, who's now a spokesman for the industry. I've worked on this issue for 47 years. I, too, have traveled the country. I've never met an American who feels that this industry should pay its taxes with shopping bags full of $20 bills. We're here because we have failed our children. Children in each of your districts can get a joint easier than they can get a 6-pack of beer, because no neighborhood drug dealer checks for ID. They don't have a license to lose. That's why we want to have a system that regulates to protect our children. Right now, kids are not protected. They are victims to a black market that you allow to continue. We're here because we have failed 3 generations of black and brown young people whose lives can be ruined or lost by selective enforcement of these laws. This legislation will end that disaster. Thank you. It's time for Congress to step up and do its part. We need to catch up with the rest of the American people. And I just want to thank Stephanie Phillips, Taras Olson, Willie Smith, Julia Pomeroy, Amber Ray, Laura Thrift, Jason Little, David Skillman, people who have been working with me on this for a decade. I'm proud that we're at this moment, and I'm proud that we're going to have an opportunity to approve the MORE Act and for Congress to step up and do its job so we catch up to your constituents. Thank you, and I yield back.